Hey, what's going on, guys? All right, so today I have no idea what the title of this episode is going to be because I got really inspired while my wife and I were sort of discussing the last video, which we're putting out. And I'm also not sure what order this is going to go in. Wow, really unorganized today. Sorry about that. But the video that we talked about where what StoryBrand gets wrong, it was in, as we were sitting down to review the copy for the social media posts, I realized that there was an aspect of that critique that I didn't properly communicate and I didn't clearly lay out. So we're going to use this time to do that. Keep in mind, throughout all these videos, this is me working out my ideas, right? So none of these are like completely set in stone for me just yet. This is my opportunity to start like getting these out there and starting to work through them. But it's my belief that the vertical of professional services is where the mentor archetype is. That if you're going to position your brand and your business in the marketplace as the mentor, which is the StoryBrand guide, right? Like the guide, you know? So like just aside, the guide equals the mentor. Then that happens within the professional services. So what do I mean by the guide equals the mentor? Well, the mentor archetype, okay, that's Gandalf, that's Morpheus, that is Haymitch from the Hunger Games, right? That's Obi-Wan Kenobi, it's Yoda, right? The mentor is the, they're the hero's mentor, right? What they do within the story is that essentially they have been where the hero has been. They have, for the most part, been in their shoes. So they have a very deep understanding of the hero, but they also have a sort of like magical knowledge, right? So they are able to give and impart to them wisdom and oftentimes magical philosophy and magical knowledge, not so much in Haymitch's part, but everyone else for the most part. And they also give them tools. Oftentimes these are magical trinkets that they pass on to the hero, but the biggest teller of who the mentor is that they are able to help the hero experience, they catalyze the hero's radical transformation, character transformation. That within these stories, right, you have like the hero who wants something, right? That it's that desire. We call this the driving desire. It's that desire that drives the entire narrative.
Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life, that there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me.
That's the forward momentum. Along that journey throughout the story, our hero is going to encounter several characters that will come alongside them to help them throughout this journey, right? That will help guide them at certain points of the plot, okay? However, it is the mentor archetype that holds the power and ability to provide radical character transformation for the hero and catalyze them towards their ultimate dream state.
You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Mentors provide the catalyst for the significant character change. What we're looking at is a hierarchy of importance, a hierarchy of transformation, where the guide, right, the mentor exists at the top of that hierarchy. That is someone who can provide radical life transformation or radical business transformation for you or for your business, right? That's where they exist. Now at the very bottom, and that's why I provided this contrast in that video, because it's easy to see it's easy to distinguish between the guide who's going to actually help me to achieve my dreams and someone changing my oil, right? Like that's something that I regard as a commodity. It doesn't matter to me where I get my oil changed, right? Like I'm just going to go to where I believe it's easiest for me to go, right? Same with like your grocery store. Doesn't matter where my grocery store is, like I'm going to buy food most likely where it's closest for me to buy food, more economical for me to buy food, or they have the actual type of food that I want. Okay. Like I'm not evaluating necessarily these things based off of a relationship, right? Based off of a brand. Commodities don't really have brands, right? The brand value, like I've discussed in a prior video, I forgot which video that was. Hopefully I can link to it. I don't know. Man, so organized today. Anyways, but commodities, like there's often no sense in trying to build up brand value, because since it's a commodity purchase, the profit margin is so small that trying to invest into your brand equity can lead to actually just reducing profit margin without actually seeing significant return, if any, right? Because I'm not trying to build a relationship with who I buy my groceries from, right? Like that's not my goal, okay? However, in the midst of those two poles exists opportunities for being a consultant within a specific point in time of that customer's journey, right? Like helping to consult this customer on a specific decision, right? Like within the story is an opportunity for a bunch of minor characters and even minor mentors to show up and help us. And often they will remove problems in front of the character and remove obstacles so that character can continue on their journey, right? But the removal of that obstacle does not equate the significant life transformation that we're communicating within the SB7, right? The removal of that obstacle may just mean that we're helping them move along towards their ultimate dream state, not reaching their ultimate dream state. Again, let's look back at the top of the hierarchy. I personally believe that the people who are the mentors, that those are your professional services vertical. Like those are people who have been granted, like we have given them the authority to guide us in very significant decisions, right? That the importance, these are very risky decisions, right? That sometimes these decisions are life and death decisions, either for ourselves, like they're that extreme, or for our business, right? Like it's either like a significant loss or a significant gain, okay? I'm going to use that as an example to kind of like make my point, all right? What just happened? What just happened is my audio recorder died because the batteries in my audio recorder died, right? So like the brand of batteries that I'm using to place into my audio recorder doesn't matter to me. Doesn't matter to me. I just want AA batteries because the batteries that I'm putting into my audio recorder has no bearing on the importance of the idea that I'm communicating right now. And this episode is not about it's not necessarily about my equipment functioning properly. It's about me communicating an idea, right? Like ultimately, if I didn't have all of the fancy stuff, I would still just be communicating the idea because that's really what is most important here. The rest of the stuff doesn't have that level of importance, right? So I'm not going to write Kirkland, right? I'm not going to write Costco and thank them for their AA batteries because their AA batteries saved my life and saved my show and therefore saved my business, right? Like, no, that makes absolutely no sense, right? The way that I just used that is I had a minor issue in front of me. It took me just a couple of seconds to solve it. I solved the minor issue, and now I'm going forward. And the benefit here is that it actually gives me a pretty cool teaching tool. But beyond that example, like not a live or die like moment here, right? It's like not that impactful, not that important. Okay? That's what I mean. There's a distinction then between a commodity, right, and the mentor, but also within that are levels of importance, decisions that we're facing, problems that we're experiencing, and the level of importance that those problems have towards impacting my progress towards my desired future state, right? Like my dream state that I'm trying to get to. And removing a minor problem doesn't mean that you're causing massive transformation. Okay? So we have to, in thinking about how to position ourselves, yes, storytelling, absolutely. Narrative positioning, absolutely. But are you the guide? No, probably not, right? If you're not operating within that sort of like rare kind, not rare, but it's more of like a limited, there we go, that limited tier of professional services, then you're probably not the mentor. And so what do I mean by like those brands operating within that limited tier? Well, a surgeon, right? Like a surgeon like literally has my life and death in their hands. Okay? Like their decisions and their competence at their job can ensure that I live or that I die. Okay? Like that's someone who can provide significant transformation. That's a big roadblock along my journey, right? Like that's a life or death. All right? Big thing. Okay? A business consultant, right? Like someone who I am now committing the future of my business and using them for counsel towards very significant decisions that I make with my business. That is a mentor. A therapist, right? Like someone that you're like, or a pastor, right? Like someone who is really helping to shepherd very critical parts of our psyche, right? Those are mentors. I mean, even if you think about your life, right? There's a very limited list of people who have made significant impacts on your development, like whether that be your personal development or career development. The whole irony of this entire thing is like Donald Miller and StoryBrand is on that list for me. Like when I went to their conference, workshop, I remember just like during a break, just as what I was learning started to settle, I'm like, this is going to change my life. Like this is a life-changing moment. Like, it is a very vivid memory for me of as those ideas started to sink in. I was like, whoa! All right, so mad respect for Donald Miller and StoryBrand. However, what immediately happened after we left StoryBrand is my business partner and I were like jazzed up about all this new knowledge that we had just gained, and suddenly we're just like we're initiated now. We're enlightened. We're like, we are the guide, and our customer is this lowly hero that needs us. We're making marketing videos, man. Like, yeah, they're important, right? But like, it's when you think about like a marketing video, like that's a piece of content. Okay. Like it's not like a marketing strategy, right? It's not like a brand strategy or brand positioning. Like it's a piece of content, you know, but suddenly we were thinking of ourselves as like creating the end all be all, like marketing magic bullet, right? Like seriously, I'm sorry. Like, but it's quite embarrassing thinking back about it because it's like, it's funny. it's really funny when I like look back at my notes and it's just kind of like, I make myself cringe. But that was the danger. And I can like, man, it would be very painful to like experience some of our meetings after that from our prospects' shoes of just to experience how we then thought of ourselves and how we were talking about like what we did and stuff like, like not good. It's not good when you start to consider yourself as the cause of someone else's or their business's massive transformation, when what you're working on within a hierarchy of importance is actually like not that high on their chain, right? It's kind of like they're going to start looking at you with a bit of disdain. You're going to accidentally come off pretty arrogant, right? And that's not good. It's not good. They're going to kind of be like, why aren't you staying in your lane? Let's just think about a story example for a second, like James Bond, okay? Q and James Bond's relationship is a great way of thinking this through, right? So like Q never claims like ownership of James Bond's success for his missions. Q will never, in any of the movies, he has never once like lorded over his gadgets over Bond and been like, well, you wouldn't have stopped that spacecraft had you not had that pen I gave you, right? Like, no, that's dumb, because Bond knows, and we know, that Bond would figure out a way to do it without Q's help. I mean, most of the time he has to anyways, because these gadgets, he either loses them or they can only be used once, and he has to be resourceful, right? He always crashes and wrecks the cars, right? So they don't last like 5 minutes of the movie, right? Like, we know that Q cannot claim Bond's success as his own. He just can't, and he doesn't. He the way that they relate to one another, he always gives him these quips and these jabs about not bringing back his stuff in one piece.
Oh, yes. That old thing is taking quite a bit of time. Mind you, there wasn't much left to work on. Barely a steering wheel. I believe I said bring it back in one piece, not bring back one piece. Anyway, enjoy your downtime, 007.
Right? Like, because Q knows who Bond is. He knows that he's stubborn and he's arrogant and that he's very, self-determined, right? He's a selfish, kind of self-absorbed type of person. So he just stays out of his way. He treats him appropriately. And so that's what this is about. It's about positioning your company in an appropriate manner and not positioning yourself as the mentor archetype. If you think about the stories that you read, there's a bunch of different archetypes that your brand might actually be. And you could even be a sort of mentor per se, but you're not the mentor. If we look at the Hunger Games, okay, so this is a good example. I'm not sure if you've seen the Hunger Games, but in the Hunger Games, you have Haymitch, and then you have Cinna, all right? So like Haymitch is the mentor, okay? He embodies the mentor archetype for Katniss and Peeta.
Okay, so when do we start?
Oh, so eager. Most of you aren't in such a hurry.
Yeah, I want to know what the plan is. You're our mentor. You're supposed to go...
Mentor?
Yeah, our mentor. You're supposed to tell us how to get sponsors and give us advice.
He has been exactly where these two are. He has experienced it himself. He has walked in their shoes. Guy's got empathy. He's got the authority and expertise because he survived. He won, right? If he didn't get through it, he would have died. Okay, dude's alive. He won. Someone that you should listen to. And the relationship that these mentors have with the Hunger Gamers contestants, I don't know what they call themselves, is that they their ability to help them basically determines whether they live or die.
You really want to know how to stay alive? You get people to like you. Oh, not what you were expecting. When you're in the middle of the games and you're starving or freezing, some water, a knife, or even some matches can mean the difference between life and death.
And the success of their relationship determines the success of, their ability to get through the games. Now, then you have Cinna, okay? And Cinna is a kind of mentor. And so if you think about his relationship with Katniss, it is, they establish a very trusting relationship. They end up becoming close. She depends on him for emotional support from time to time. She trusts him. This guy is an expert at what he does.
My name is Cinna.
Katniss.
I'm sorry that this happened to you. I'm here to help you in any way that I can.
Most people just congratulate me.
Well, I don't see the point in that. So tonight, they have the tribute parade. I'm gonna take you out and show you off to the world.
So you're here to make me look pretty.
I'm here to help you make an impression.
That is a statement from the mouth of an expert. That's someone who understands more deeply what they do, that they approach their work with purpose, that their work to them is meaningful, and they've just got like an other level understanding of what they do. All right? Like that if I'm talking to somebody who's making my outfit and they tell me that, I'm like stepping back. Like, please, sir, step forward, help me make a great impression. Right? Like that's where I'm at that point. And I'm going to release every area of that decision to them. Every area of that decision to them. Not my being and not every area of my business to them. And maybe not even every significant decision about my business to them. But where they demonstrate their expertise, yeah, I'm just going to kind of step off the gas there and let them drive. And so Cinna is a kind of mentor, but he's a lesser mentor. So while Haymitch can determine whether they live or die, Cinna can only really determine how good they look when they do that. I love my barber, right? I think he's great. I think he does a fantastic job, right? I need to get back to him because I'm getting a bit long on here. It's why I'm wearing the hat. Anyways, but I think the dude does a fantastic job, right? But if he were to claim responsibility for my business success because of how he cuts my hair, right? Like, that's offensive. Pretty offensive, Like, you could probably claim how my wife reacts when I get home from getting my hair cut. Now, I'll give all that to him, but not helping me become successful at my business, right? So it's like, and that would be insulting to you if someone positioned themselves and asserted themselves in that way, right? And so that's the threat. We don't want to make that same mistake. We want to be able to appropriately evaluate what our customer's journey is, and then start considering how do we need to show up for them? And it's kind of thinking it in the way of how do they expect us to show up for them? And by understanding the type of story that they're on helps us to then realize what their expectation of us is. Does that make sense? So it's so the type of person that Bond is, the type of journey that he's constantly on, this overcoming the monster journey, he's just he's going to go out there and just kick some butt, and not much character transformation happening within a Bond film. Aside from Casino Royale and some of the recent Daniel Craig ones, but not much significant transformation happening there. And even in Casino Royale, he didn't really have a mentor, right? We could think that it's Vesper, right? We could make the argument that it's her, but like not much of a mentor happening. He's still very like doing it on his own, okay? Now let's contrast this to a similar character in our cultural lore, which is Batman, right? And how Batman interacts with Alfred, right? So Alfred to Batman, although he isn't at that significant post that, say, Dumbledore is to Harry Potter, right? Like, because Batman himself is highly closed off emotionally and a bit stubborn, you know, but he still sees Alfred as a father figure and relies on Alfred for significant insight. And so Alfred doesn't just behave, especially in the Dark Knight, Christopher Nolan's trilogy, and specifically the Dark Knight, like Alfred does not behave on the same level as Q because he knows that he can actually influence the decisions that Bruce makes. He can actually have a significant impact on his development as a person. And he actually does. Like the guidance that Alfred gives helps Bruce, Batman, you know, like realize what he needs to become in order to defeat the Joker.
People are dying, Alfred. What would you have me do?
Endure, Master Wayne. Take it. They'll hate you for it, but that's the point of Batman. He can be the outcast. He can make the choice that no one else can make. The right choice.
It takes care to kind of like evaluate, like, who are you coming into contact with every single time? And how do we need to show up to them? How are they expecting us to show up? And therefore, like, how do we then position ourselves so that way we're speaking the language they want to hear back to them? It's what I call leveraging myth, right? It's talking to them within their own story language. All right, so we'll get into archetypes and character archetypes and story archetypes later. I just wanted to make sure that I made that clear, that it's not just you can't be a guide. Like, yes, you could be a guide. Everyone can't be the guide, right? Because the guide is a role that is set aside for a select few, because it's about a degree of importance. It's about the degree of transformation that you're causing within your customer. And if you're not causing that significant degree of transformation, if you're just removing a minor problem, right, then you can't claim the transformation. You have to communicate in an authentic way, so that way you're protecting your position, you're protecting your business, and you're protecting the integrity of your brand. All right, hope this was helpful. If you guys have any questions, you can find me on Instagram at McNabb_storytelling, also on Twitter at Storytelligent, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.